my sister. I'll miss laughing with my dad. I'm kind of all alone here, so is there any chance, my brother, that you could hold my hand? I'm kind of all alone here. I feel as cold as this, my old and aching land. So is there any chance, my brother, that you could hold my hand? So is there any chance, my brother, that you could hold my hand?
Here we go. We have a special today just about Henry. I can see that John's gone, but we've got Fred here.
Well, police forces.
I'm here.
Fred's
Wow. That's gold, babe. That's going to come in very handy.
Yeah.
Who is this McPherson?
I don't know, but I looked into it for because it was impacted the
Are we live?
system as well, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
His name's not McPherson Stein, is it?
Hopefully
Fred,
we're
we're
not
live.
interrupting Fred.
We're live. You have to focus.
We can wait. How are you, Fred? Can you hear us?
Someone like the
I
Dorset
don't think Fred
police
can
have
hear
a
us.
race action plan, and they cite the McPherson report.
I don't think Fred can hear us.
No.
Can you hear
It's
us?
not.
Hang on. Stapo.
You're live. We're live. We
Oh.
thought you were ready.
Listening to your
I am.
conversation.
Good thing we weren't discussing anything, private.
Intimate.
Oh, I think it's a shame, actually. That'd go uber viral.
How are you, gentlemen? Good to see you.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Good. So John has called this impromptu podcast to talk
Well,
about Henry Nowak, or Henry Nowak's
Yes.
hand, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. I started listening to that song, Michael. I love your music. You've got that little, the sort of emotional power of folk music. You've really captured it. I love it.
Yeah,
So
I think
well done.
folk music suits this at the moment. And it's
It does.
and this is AI, man. This is AI. If I want to do that in the studio, it costs me $10,000-$20,000. I'll be waiting 6 months to get it done. That took me 20 minutes.
Mate, good
So
work.
I write the lyrics, and then I just sit there deciding what genre to put it in, So this is what I'm telling for people like yourself, Fred and John. AI can really let us masquerade as having far more resources than what we do.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's the second time in a day that I've been reminded of that. I was with a writer yesterday who is whose productivity since subscribing to Claude has multiplied, and he was recommending it a lot. Just even as a research assistant and somewhat sometimes a writing assistant, but not always the finished product. But advice accepted. I'm going to start using it from now on.
Although I haven't used Claude yet. I just use Suno and
Oh,
Grok.
do you? Okay. Yeah.
And Grok Imagine, put in Grok Imagine, and Grok Imagine allows you to do 10-second videos literally for free, and they're becoming a little art form in themselves. Because
right. Is that how you did the animation of Bill off the cover of the book when we spoke last time?
Yeah.
That's Grok Imagine.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. I'll make a note of that.
Yeah, it even does. I actually think it's a new art form. Let's see if I've got this other one here that I did. Where is it? But it's it's incredible. But talking about that though, I mean, it's absolutely incredible what's happening with Henry. I was expecting it to go off, but I really think it's pure racism against white people, and no one's been allowed to say it for ages, but now here it is. There's even a Polish, I think he's a Polish pathologist, has come out and he's read the report, and said if the police had actually compressed his chest instead of bending his arms back, they could have saved his life. But
Yeah, well, I heard Matt Walsh say that he'd looked at the circumstances of the injury, and he said that there was from what he'd researched, there was a 1 in 5 chance that Henry could have been saved, but they just made no effort to do so. So it was, yeah, I mean, the initial impression most of us got was that it was too late, but it wasn't. They could have saved him, and they weren't interested because he was white. And you know, grim though it sounds, he got whiter as they stood there.
Wow, what a statement! What a statement!
Yeah,
there's a.
So do you think this is the apogee of critical race theory, that things will come back to some sort of normal common sense after this, instead of this tsunami of hatred against white?
I don't think so, John. No, I think there's only one way out of this, and it's not. You can't vote your way out of it, and you can't argue your way out of it. I'm not sure. I can't speak on behalf of Britons, but it seems increasingly likely that the only solution is a civil war. There's a lot of talk about civil war in Britain, and it's been going on for some time. But this traces back. I've got to credit my wife Bella for this. That she's found that this can be traced back to the Macpherson report. Are you guys familiar with the Macpherson report of 1999?
No.
So this is in Britain. And the conclusion of the report was that any incident of alleged racism must be investigated. So it gave enormous power to anyone who felt like they had been the victim of racism to call the cops, and the cops were, from that point onwards, obliged to comply with whatever request the supposedly offended person made. And so that's 25 years ago, 26 years ago. Yeah, and it's always bullshit, and it sort of elevates the status of victimhood to a person of incredible power, and you know, people are naturally going to take advantage of that, and so that's exactly what we saw in action at Henry Nowak's death. You know, it was an accusation of racism, and the police fell immediately in line, and I think, as a result, the police, either consciously or not, have made a decision where this is all heading. That England or Britain or the UK will be colonised. There is another colonisation going on. They've decided who will win that particular battle, and it's the immigrants who are now colonising Britain as their own. And the police have taken their side. That's the way. That's the way it is. I mean, it's hard to.
That's how it looks. That's how it appears to us.
Yeah.
We have plenty of videos from the last few protests of them pounding, and they're white police pounding on white protesters, and we don't see them doing it to the Muslim protesters or any other race. They seem to take a certain liking to attacking their own people, which is staggering. You know?
Yeah, they make no secret of the fact that they've decided whose side they're on.
Yeah, and it
Well, do
also
they have any legal wriggle room anyway? Don't they have to do that? Don't they have to take the side of the victim, whether the victim's lying or not?
Well, I think the Macpherson report makes it clear that their obligation, their duty, is towards the person who's alleging racism. You know, this is the one of the sort of defining cultural phenomena of our time, and that is that if it doesn't matter what someone says to you, if you feel aggrieved and if you feel offended, then your offence takes precedence. So that's it's not just the Macpherson report that reached that conclusion. That conclusion is widespread in, for example, the ABC here in Australia, or Channel 9 newspapers and Channel 9 itself. You know, if someone makes a complaint about some form of bigotry against a white person, then that person has to be taken seriously by whether it's the media or some legal institution or the police. It's
Yeah.
and that's just, and as a result, you've got Henry Nowak dying alone and choking on his own blood while the cops handcuff him and read him his rights. The you know, we're kind of beyond the point now where we can reason our way out of this.
Yeah, I think so.
There's no, it is like a lot of human confrontation, sadly, is not resolved by reason. You know, you can ask, I mean, even lawyers will admit that. You know, lawyers are meant to reason their way out of a case, but most lawyers will tell you, don't be reasonable, just get what you can under the auspices of the law. And that's, in a wider context, I'd say that's the situation we're in. There's no reasoning with people who think that it's okay for cops to stand over a kid and read him his rights while he's dying of stab wounds.
Mind-blowing,
It's awful. You know what really, you know, the thing is that here's three blokes sitting around talking about this as a sort of, you know, as almost like a sort of social conundrum. What is lacking really across the West is anger about this. You know, what struck me about the attack at Bondi was the response from the Bondi locals. And, you know, Bondi is one of the most local suburbs in Australia. Like, people who are from Bondi, you know, like if you go to a party and you want to know who at the party is from Bondi, you don't have to wait long because they will tell you. You know, they're pretty freaking pretentious about it. But someone turns up from another suburb, armed to the teeth, and kills 15 people. Their response was to gather on the beach and hug and cry. They weren't angry. It just absolutely bewilders me, the absence of anger about any of this. And we've seen plenty of anger in England as a response to the Henry Nowak killing, but probably not enough. You know, I mean, these are the sort of, you know, World War I was started on something far more trivial than the killing of Henry Nowak, I'd suggest. So, it's that's the really ingredient that's missing.
I'll just play you a few things. This is from the Parliament.
Yep. Actually says people should be treated differently based on the colour of their skin. The police anti-racism commitment, published in March 2025 by the NPCC and the College of Policing, urges police forces to reverse engineer the same arrest rates between ethnic groups, even though the offending rates are different, by treating different ethnic groups differently. The dangerous ideology of so-called anti-racism, allowing people to be treated differently based on race, must end. It is morally wrong and it is dangerous as well. Police forces must focus on catching criminals and keeping the public safe. They must simply treat everyone exactly the same.
Yeah. Well,
it's extraordinary, but it's happening here though. I saw a thing this morning, an ad for New South Wales. You got this tiny little cop. I mean, he's like you know, he's just like a skinny kid going about hate speech, and is all surrounded by LGBT flags all around him. And the cops are walking across LGBT crosswalks, but they're not saying that. They're saying, if anyone, you know, is rude to you, call us out and we'll. So they're pushing it here. That's why I say it'll end. I think this is it. They're really coming in and pushing it down our throats. You know, and it could happen here next.
Exactly. Well, and it already is. Yeah, that cop has an agenda. He's not interested in treating people equally. He's got an agenda to make the streets safe for gay people. Well, you know, they're not unsafe. You know, gay people are among the most sort of positively discriminated against people in Australia. I know. Yeah. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Sir Robert Peel, who is the godfather of modern police forces, I think he once said, I'm pretty sure it was Sir Robert Peel, I think he once said that you don't measure the success of a police officer by how many people he's locked up. You measure his success by how safe the streets are. And we've forgotten that. We've accepted that there are dangerous people on our streets and we have to actually tolerate them. And sometimes the cops are powerless to do anything about it, or not even interested to make the streets safer. The increasing multiculturalism of Australia has, as it increases, it's correlated with the increasing danger on our streets. Now, is that just correlation or causation? I'd argue it's causation. And the cops, I mean, it's not cool to be a cop in Australia. That's the shame. New York cops, for example.
Want to be that.
New York cops are cool guys. And they kind of got a swagger about them, and they've got an image. But I don't know. We don't respect our cops. We've never respected cops very much in Australia, probably because of our convict heritage. And as a result, we've actually wound up with just the kind of people who couldn't make it as school principals or hall monitors or something. And they're exactly the wrong kind of people. I've been pulled over by a couple of cops recently, and they were just assholes, really.
Straight away assholes from the beginning.
Yeah, they just love the authority, and they just love talking down to you and scaring you and threatening you. And it's not what policing's about. Policing's about making the streets safe,
Well, here's that ad. I'll just show you this ad here.
Yeah.
Bias. A hate crime is any crime motivated by hate, prejudice, or bias towards people because of their identity or perceived difference. If you experience hate crime, even if it feels minor, you should contact us. If you're in immediate danger, someone is seriously injured, a hate crime is happening now, or the suspect is still present, you should call 000. If the incident has already happened and you're no longer in danger, you can still report it at your local police station or by calling Crime Stoppers on 1800 333 000. However you identify, you deserve to feel safe, respected, and empowered. When you report a
See that? However you identify, they don't mention it, but it's all
hate crime, you'll be treated with support, respect, and dignity every step of the way by the New South Wales Police Force.
There you go.
Is he going to support? Will there be
garden,
support and respect and dignity for someone who claims they weren't bigoted towards some gay person, like it's a false allegation? I don't think so.
Well, I do miss the old days. Remember in the 1980s where we used to go around spotlighting, shooting gays and lesbians and the odd tran if we got it, and we put the tran like a Danny LaRue on the front of the car. I miss those days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were just so great. Now we have to respect it. It's not working as much. And that's the thing. I'm doing a show tonight. We've got Danny LaRue. I've got a video from Danny LaRue playing to the Royal Variety performance. So the whole thing is her playing to the Queen, or him playing to the Queen. He's not actually that good. I was listening to him thinking, that good. But it's just, they was totally accepted then. So they're trying to talk about it, trans suicide, trans genocide. It's all bullshit.
Yeah.
It's all bullshit.
I've been up in Bangkok lately. Been living there for a few months, and hardly a day goes by without you seeing a ladyboy on the street, and they're just really delightful people. They don't have a victimhood chip on their shoulder. They're obviously a bit messed up, but like I bought something off a ladyboy at a department store the other day, and he was just so delightful to deal with, which is not the case with the militant sort of, gays and trannies who get around Sydney and, read children's stories in libraries and try to sexualize children and do all the just act in inappropriate ways. Ladyboys are funny people, and they're perfectly happy with who they are. And there's something about trannies in this new wave of transsexuals who are trying to force us to accept who they are, but it seems that deep down they're angry about something, and maybe they're angry about the fact that they're a bit confused. Like, why are they so angry? They're free to come out and be who they are, so chill out, but they don't. So that might say something about
the toilet seems to be. And look, most of us don't care. It's like, you want to go that way, knock yourself out. We don't care. Just stay out of the women's toilets. Use the disabled one or the men's one, because we don't give a shit. and stay out of the kindergartens teaching our kids stuff.
Yeah.
Let the kids be kids.
Exactly.
It's hard enough at the moment. Don't confuse them. And then stay out of the women's sports. Let the women have their own biological sports, because you guys got an unfair advantage. That's just fact. I know you don't like facts, but that's just fact. You know, sorry. You know,
there are some lines that you think would be the ones that, you know, once they're crossed, that's it. It's sort of game over. But you know, you'd think that seeing a man beat up a woman inside a boxing ring at the Olympics would have been, oh, hang on a sec, we've gone too far. But it didn't. It just, that's why I say you can't reason with these people.
Well, look at the Olympics the other way. Imagine if instead of when they did the Last Supper, where they basically urinated over Christianity, imagine if they did that against Islam. Most of those organisers would already be dead.
The
Olympic Committee dead. And wherever the Olympics was held, that'd just be a burning shell now. You know. There's a new video come out from Denmark. It's got a Pride Month in Denmark, and they've got gays were doing the Last Supper with the cross, and a Danish soldier walked through, snapped off the cross, and walked off with it over his shoulder. It's incredible footage. And so maybe that anger is starting to rise, you know what I mean? Because I don't know, I'm seeing in England, I'm seeing people like you, they're really upset about Henry, but I'm furious. This was a beautiful young man who did nothing wrong. You know? And the other thing that's come out today is the police were trying their best to get the prosecutor to paint Henry as the aggressor. To justify
I've heard that.
act.
Tommy Robinson just, which is, you know, further evidence of the institutions and the establishment having already concluded who's going to win this this battle to colonize the UK. They've decided it's the migrants, it's the Sikhs, it's the Muslims, it's the sub-Saharan Africans, but it certainly ain't the white people. We've got a nice comment here from Rachel saying, "Spot on. The replacement theory is not a theory."
That's right.
Yeah. You know, like when, you know, 5 or 10 years ago, if you were saying, oh, you know, there seems to be this program where we're being replaced in our own countries, you know, people would call you mad. But, you know, the WEF has written an entire report on it, and we are witnessing it in real time. And, you know,
I'm witnessing it across Australia.
Yes,
town to town
absolutely.
I go to, every store, every cafe, every service station, most of the other stores, all run by New Indian migrants who and the only homeless in the streets, because I'm interviewing a lot of homeless now, they're all white. So how does that reconfigure itself and find an equilibrium? And suddenly these white guys and white ladies standing next to a tent, living next to a river in a tent during the winter, are suddenly going to find a way to return to prosperity and get the equilibrium. No, we're in trouble here, you know. And there's no Indians homeless. I hate to say it, I've not seen one Indian homeless person. And so hats off to them. They're more industrious. But here's where we are. Our culture is under attack from several.
Well, Michael, this is another aspect of the bigger picture, because one of the ways they've been able to get liberal democracies to this position is by dismantling the family in our society. You know, they've encouraged parents to break up. You know, there's financial benefits to breaking up. They've made it incredibly easy. They've made single parenthood normal. When old people get too old, you just shove them into a retirement village. Kids, as soon as, like, you know, kids are barely out of the maternity ward and they're being shoved into childcare centres. Like,
that's right.
They have completely dismantled the idea of family. And when Indians come here, they come here with 3 generations. They can outbid us for homes, because, you know, they've got 3 generations. They can pool their money and they'll fit, you know, 12 people into a house where we would go, oh, gee, it's a bit crowded for 4 people. You know, like, they are more inclined to sort of adapt to the times, and that's how we've got to this point. Is they're more family oriented, to their credit, And we've been convinced that families are sort of optional. You know, like I once heard this guy on a podcast. I think it was Peter Bagashan. He was in LA once, and he was just at a traffic stop, and some guy was collecting money, some homeless guy, and he just stopped and talked to him, and he said, "How come you're homeless?" And he goes, "Oh, well, you know, I don't know what the trigger for it was." And he said, "Do you have any family?" And he goes, "Oh, yeah, I got a brother who lives in San Diego or whatever." And he goes, "Well, why don't you go and live with him?" And he goes, "I don't want to." Like, you know, when people become homeless in Australia, that's because the family network doesn't work anymore. You know,
that's right.
Whereas people, you know, the Indians won't let their families become homeless in Australia. They'll look after them.
Yeah. It's that maybe this is the lesson we're on. We've been prosperous for too many decades. We've forgotten that. I'm seeing now that we did an interview with a woman called Joyce here. I'm seeing now poor people starting to help each other everywhere, you know, in these caravan parks. So it is happening. So once people lose everything, and we saw that in Epic, John. You know, in Epic, that people didn't have stuff, but they came together. They were loving each other's company, even though it lasted a few days. So I think there's something good happening on the ground, because I see people. I met another guy who's basically now becoming the black market, and he doesn't sell contraband in the way of drugs. He sells meat that doesn't have any additives. He takes this stuff, you know, and delivers it off, and other things like this. And it's and that you can trust. So the farmers have back doors to sell their really organic stuff without having to go through all the process and stuff. And so that's what I'm seeing out here on the road wherever I go is the first real stages of a depression, and the people are acting like they did in The Grapes of Wrath. I'm seeing similar themes to the Steinbeck novel. Yeah, but
this is sort of grassroots people forming networks.
Yeah, absolutely. We were at a gathering the other night. There's about 40 people there, big bonfire. These people have never met before. Initially, they were united through not wanting to take the jab, but then a third of them have taken the jab and been injured or just don't want to take any more. And these people are coming together for humanity, really. They've lost their family, or they want to talk about things. Their families don't want to talk about anything, or their friends. And so they go to this group, they'll talk about anything, and they are helping each other. They really are.
Wow.
So there I see hope. It's going to take a long time, but I can see hope.
Yeah.
But it's definitely...
well, see, this is the opposite. This is the antithesis of what we are led to believe, and that is that when you're in trouble, the state will look after you. You know, we're raised to think that the state is all caring and omnipotent. We're rapidly discovering that the state is our enemy, and that the only people, if you really do need help, it's people who can do that, not the state.
Kindness of strangers, like Tennessee Williams' play. You know, the last line of Streetcar Named Desire. This is what I'm seeing here. The woman we interviewed lost her child and everything, and then she's on this caravan park now. And she's supported by other very poor people who have managed to convince them to give her a rent that she can afford, because all I'm meeting is people who go, there's nowhere for me. There's nowhere for me. And then they're bringing in these other people, but there's nowhere for me. And even another guy interviewed, chatting to this homeless guy, I think he was 72. He went into the government to ask where he was on the emergency housing list. And a year ago, they changed the policy and they got rid of the list, and they've started again, and they didn't tell anyone. So he's been spending a year on the streets, freezing his ass off, thinking he's on a list going up. He's not anywhere.
Wow. You're in Western Australia, aren't you?
Yep, in Western Australia at the moment. And we're down south in Bustleton. We're just posing around here. Wherever we go, there's stories. You know, I met a young guy yesterday, Xavier. He did an extraordinary story, just talking about how he was like the ducks of his class, but he didn't want to take the jab, and everything collapsed. He became the leper. But he told us about how they used to get 3 to 5 times a year, they'd vaccinate the kids, and they'd bar the doors. So if you didn't want it, too late. You're not leaving the library unless you get this vaccination. And I've never heard this thing, but he told us about it. And if you weren't there that day, they'd come and chase you the next day and the next day to make sure you took it, determined to get all these vaccinations into you. I never heard it, but it is this young man telling us. And they'd have up to 20 or 30 people collapsed, kids that would faint and be collapsed after having it, and it's just normal.
What's the state of his life now? He was a former dux of the school.
And
what's he doing
now? He was going to be a lawyer. He's a very beautiful, very clever guy. And now he actually wants to do podcasting. He's doing other things now, massage therapy, trying to figure out where he can fit in because the prejudice is still there. And so him and another young man I've met might come on and start doing a podcast together. Both beautiful young men. And so I'm finding hope there in the young. They don't buy it at all. That what they're seeing it's nothing's here for them. And what's the other interesting thing? When have you ever seen on Albanese's face an ounce of compassion for what's happening to his nation, or empathy, or recognition? Not an ounce.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Not an ounce.
Yeah. In fact, quite the opposite. You know, I saw him.
No, he looks happy.
Arrogant even. I saw him walking across some sort of stage yesterday, and he had the chest puffed out, and he was looking pretty pleased with himself. I mean, he's been completely exposed over the sale of his investment properties, which he did in advance of the changes to the capital gains, because it would have cost him a lot of money. And now, with the money he's made from the sale of those investment properties, he's put them into his primary place of residence, so capital gains tax won't apply. And on top of that, he's going to spend the rest of his life on the parliamentary pension. So, you know, like, again, how do you reason with someone who is so blatantly corrupt? I mean, that's straight up corruption. He knew the changes were coming, and he acted for his own benefit. And the people who bought the properties off him, if they're investors, they're about to get screwed thanks to his own decision. So, yeah, there's no compassion. You know, one of the telling things about Albanese, in my opinion, is that, and this is why he is so opposite to Donald Trump, is he never does deals. Whenever he goes overseas, he goes, "Oh, I'm working with, you know, the Prime Minister of Singapore, or the Prime Minister, the President of China, or whatever. We work alongside each other. We reach consensus. We come to agreement. We work together," and all this sort of stuff. He never goes overseas and does a deal specifically for the benefit of the Australian people, because he's just not like that. Consensus is his way of achieving his goals, and nobody gets anywhere by consensus. You know, if you want to strike a deal, you've got to get the best deal you can for yourself and the country you represent. But he never does that. He's just a globalist.
What, John? You're the one that called this. What are your thoughts on what's happening with Henry in his hand?
Oh, sad as. I mean, that was a great song that you did. I wouldn't mind if you played that song now and then talked about the lyrics. But it's a great song. All right.
So what I saw, that like any other human on the planet who has a heartbeat, the picture of Henry's hand is haunting. I mean, this is the picture now, but I've seen the most hardened podcasters being trebly moved, especially the top hand with the claws. I mean, now they're making art out of it, and it fits.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, wow.
It fits good.
Yeah.
You know, you really see it. So, so when I wrote the poem, which about Henry's hand, it was just saying, the whole thing is, you couldn't hold his hand. Once shit fucked up and you realized he was dying, you couldn't have just taken off a glove and held your brother's hand. And so in the poem, that's what he's asking for. Okay, I'll play it.
Yeah.
Right. He's just attacked it. Took his start. Sorry? Huh? Sorry, we just got attacked racially by some white person.
Right, okay. Whereabouts are you? Just out in the street, are you?
Sorry?
You're just in the street?
Yeah, literally. I just parked up my car to come home, and he's attacked my brother.
They've convinced you that I'm evil, another right-wing racist man. But is there any chance, my brother, that you could hold my hand? I can hear my mother weeping as the papers forget my name. I guess they couldn't find a way to have a dead white boy take the blame. I'm gonna miss dancing with my sister. I'm gonna miss trying to please my dad. And since I'm kind of all alone here, is there any chance, my brother, that you could hold my hand? Who knew I'd make the podcasters? Who knew that all my dreams were lies? And despite never doing wrong by you, there's only hatred in your eyes. I was partying before this. I dressed up and wore a tie. Now there's ghosts among the coppers, the ones laughing as I die. Now there's ghosts among the coppers, I guess they're waiting for me to die. I'll miss dancing with my sister. I'll miss laughing with my dad. I'm kind of all alone here, so is there any chance, my brother, that you could hold my hand? I'm kind of all alone here. I feel as cold as this, my old and aching land. So is there any chance, my brother, that you could hold my hand? So is there any chance, my brother, that you could hold my hand?
Wow. I used AI to make him smile just at the end. You watch that still picture, quite a smile.
So
this is AI. I mean, the poetry is one thing, but AI allows us to get powerful stuff out there quickly on the thing. You know, I did the same with Charlie. That hit like 3 million people, but that's just that. But this is what I'm saying. The AI. I mean, this is obviously AI. To get a graphic designer to get that together would take ages and cost a fortune. Sorry, but AI is pumping this stuff out, and this is a way we fight back, because we've got to get in here. Well, a lot of the last 5 years has been trying to the facts, but the facts, like you said, Paul, don't really mean anything. You know, they're
firstly, Michael, you know, full credit. That's a really, really moving bit of work. I mean, you know, you wrote the words, and AI did the rest. But I mean, so you're. I have an aversion to people who analyze art, but I just want to point out two things. You're appealing to the listener from two perspectives. One is to the cops, I should say. Do you have a conscience at all? Yeah. Because you're my brother and I'm bleeding out. And the other is, you know, on a cultural level, like, you know, folk music is very indigenous to the British Isles, and anyone any Briton who fails to be moved by that is probably not very British, and that's the problem. Like, can the cops be convinced that through their conscience and through their culture that what they did that night was wrong? It's
have you seen the interview with? There's an interview, John, with an American podcast who went to England, is interviewing 4 coppers, and they don't care. They're going, no, they're doing the right thing. They're helping stamp out racism. That's all, racism. And there's another young copper I saw, and he's been kicked out of the force because during the training he had a few questions. Before then, he was an exemplary officer. Now he's kicked out. You can't question it. And this is it. Yeah, this is the institutionalization of racism. And what it gets me is, though, it's their own people. These are like capos in the death camps. You know, it's their own friggin' people, man. If say what happened in Melbourne with Dan Andrews, if you're watching, if those police officers had said, "No, Dan, we're not shooting our own people, we're not beating up grandmothers," if they'd said that and stood their ground, we probably wouldn't be here. The police is one of the main reasons they've managed to get away with everything. Same here in WA. The police are the tool that they've used, and they've allowed themselves to be used. And now in England, they're doing the same. You know?
It always was that way, though. You know, we've grown up in a country where we had the luxury of convincing ourselves that level of institutional evil and oppression didn't exist anymore, and for most of our lives it didn't. And suddenly it's rearing its ugly head, even in Australia. But man, Australia is changing so quickly. You know, I'm back for the first time for any length of time in 3 months, and I can see like I'm in Bondi Junction at the moment, which I've spent a lot of my time in Sydney in this area. I can see it's different in 3 months. It's changed. Yeah. It's quite astonishing, and it's all deliberate. The federal government is changing the demographics of this country, and it's not for the better. It's not for the better. You know, the mood on the streets is not. There's no conviviality. There's no fraternity in Australia, even in supposedly affluent suburbs anymore.
Yeah. I've got. Have you seen this before, John? In your time as a reporter?
I can't. My screen's gone black. I can't see either of you. I can't see anything.
But we can hear you, man.
To jiggle the things to make it work. So I'm just staring at a black screen. So what are you showing me?
This is an episode of Black Mirror for you, isn't it, mate?
No, we're just asking you, in your time as a reporter, in the 30 years, have you seen the police act like this willy-nilly to their own people and people that aren't actually criminals?
Oh, I think there's been elements of it for sure, but I think we've just reached some sort of social tipping point where this has really gone. They just tasered someone and killed him. The guy tasered a 44-year-old. I think he was in South Australia, I think late yesterday. And he's dead. And where's the outrage? None. And
I hadn't heard that at all.
Who knows what the story was with him?
So the taser killed him.
Yeah. And
wow.
Yeah, it's meant to be non-lethal, but it clearly wasn't. And I think there's been elements of it a lot, you know, that look at the whole domestic violence scenario. All you've got to do is make an accusation, which can be as blatantly false as you can be hundreds of kilometres away. A guy I see regularly down at the dog park, his wife accused, and he was a police officer, and a very well-respected one, and his departing ex accused him of being outside his house, riding his bike through, and he said, I was hundreds of kilometres away on a police job, and clearly I wasn't there, and this is fabrication. And in the end, it didn't matter. He lost his job, all the rest of it. And so you see that blatant BS. I mean, try being a skeptic about climate change anywhere in the polite suburbs of Sydney, and you'll be howled down the idiot, Neanderthal. Try suggesting that mass immigration is turning into a nightmare and that multiculturalism was a deceit foisted on the people. Oh, away they go. Try look at the yes and no vote with the Indigenous identity thing. Oh, it just goes on and on and on. Look at how Australia was a very, very roughly tolerant place. I don't care who you fuck as long as you're not fucking me. And then all of a sudden we're looking at drag queens reading stories to kids in in schools. I mean, everything has turned sour. I can't think of any of these old tropes, if that's the right word, tropes of the left that have turned positive. You know, the whole climate change. Now we're chopping off the tops of mountains in national parks, you know, all in a globalist scam, which you don't have to look very hard to realise it's a scam. I mean, I don't know. Everything's just turned sour, I think. And even in that 3 months you're talking about, Fred, the country's turned really sour. Albert, one of the most hated, the most hated person in the country. Nobody, the whole tax business has just turned an entire generation off. My local cafe guy, he was saying he used to have to keep his political opinions to himself or choose his audience. He says now everyone's the same. They just hate the government. They really, really hate them because no one can get ahead. No amount of is rewarding. You know, it doesn't matter what you do.
Billionaires are going through the roof. We've had so many billionaires created in the last few months than ever before. I think we're creating one once every few days. While the rest that came out in Parliament. I want to show you this. This was really interesting. I interviewed this guy over here. He didn't wear a mask. He got arrested. And this is footage of his arrest in jail. I start with 1984.
You knew this would happen, Winston. Don't deceive yourself. You've always known it.
I hate this scene.
The photos of you and the girl will be recycled for proletarian use.
So he didn't wear a mask and they wanted a DNA sample. This is how they came in.
What?
Yeah. Arrested for not wearing a mask. If you watch the whole thing, it's just absolutely brutal. Look at him. They love it.
They do. What department
they
are they
love
from?
attacking anyone who's not compliant.
Wow.
And he's a big guy. You know, he's well over 6 foot. Look at him. They just jump in. Look at that. Bringing in others.
What department are they from? Are they from the health department?
Yeah, something like that. And he actually lives in Thailand now as a carer for some old rich guy, just trying to stay out of Australia. But and he used to be an actor. I mean, he's an artist, but he's one of the ones that stood up. And this is what's happening here. But what I see with Henry is you have a moment where something defines the era, one image. And I'm afraid now where we are, this is the image.
Yeah.
I mean, you clearly can see that he's in trouble. You would have smelt the blood. I had Dr. House on last night. You would have smelt the blood. You would have seen that he was cold. 9 times he called out. I think this is the unadulterated version.
This does. I think you have, mate. Well, that's not brief. At the moment, you are under arrest. That's for assault, so you do not have to say anything. May harm in defence if you do not mention when questioned. It's up to which you later line of court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence, all right? It's going to be sick, I think.
Oh.
He's going to die, you dumb bastard. There's a... so these coppers are so blinded by the ideology that they can't see what's in front of their eyes. All they can see is that's a white guy. He's obviously a Nazi. He's upset this poor Indian guy. And it's not even a race thing. I mean, this Indian guy's just a nutter. They've got pictures of him with a gun. He's just a nutcase. He could be black. He could be Chinese. He's a nutter. You've got nutters.
Yeah.
And he was a nutter. So it's not actually against Sikhs at all, I see. What it does, though, is the family realised they didn't want him to go to jail, so let's play the race card. And the cops are like, you know?
Yeah, all
it.
the cards. Yeah, everything's in place for that scenario to be played out perfectly. But and they're probably surprised that it wound up going to court. Like that the deck is stacked in their favor. And I mean, how many other instances have there been like this? I mean, Henry Nowak is a bit of a tipping point. But I remember about 12 months ago hearing about some white guy who was stabbed by migrants on the streets of London, and as he was fading away, his last words were, I think he was 19 years old, and this broke my heart hearing this. He was realizing he was about to die, and he goes, "That's it, my life is over." They were his last words. God. And he'd just been stabbed. And like, you can Google these things or look for them on social media, and pretty soon your social media algorithm will be filled with all this stuff. Henry Nowak has caused somewhat of a trigger, but he's far from alone. It happens all the time.
Yeah. This is where we are now. Sorry, John.
Oh, we just sent some guy to jail for a year for a 45-second speech suggesting that the Jewish lobby was the most dangerous lobby in Australia, views that were written in more academic prose by Bob Carr, more or less at the same time. And at the same time, or a few months, 6-9 months ago, or whatever it was, the Imam, the leading Muslim of Australia, declared a jihad against the Zionist entity. So none of it makes any logical sense. And how
is
much
that guy out yet, John? Have you been following that case? Is he out yet?
No, he only went to jail not many months ago, Michael. You might be more on top of it.
He's in solitary, isn't he?
Sorry, a year in jail for a 45-second speech. They've just passed these hate laws, which are just absolutely unbelievable. And behind all that is all sorts of stuff limiting free speech, limiting attacks on intelligence agencies or anything else, as I understand it. James Glisson did a great piece on all the secret parts of the hate speech laws. It's mind-blowing. The whole thing is such a mess and such a contradictory and sad mess of what we used to be a proud country, for God's sake.
Yeah.
But it's coming down to the people, John, though. They're putting up with it.
It's a defeated population. You're looking at a defeated population. So there's that element to it. Just go to the local mall. You'll see a defeated population.
Well, go to the local mall, and this is where the most common place people congregate in Australia is in a shopping centre. Sadly, that's the truth. And most of our shopping centres now are Westfield shopping centres. Now, a couple of years ago, I did this little project where I was doing vox pops on the streets. Michael, you know what it's like. Vox popping. It's a tough gig in Australia because Australians hate talking to strangers and they hate having their opinions asked, especially on camera. So it's tough enough. And you've probably noticed there's an art to locating places where people are more inclined to stop and have a chat, right? Like beachside walks are pretty good. Parks are okay. Like I've tried outside car parks and stuff like that. But I tell you one place where you're not going to get anyone, and a stranger, stopping and having a chat about an issue that is relevant to both of you, and that's outside of Westfield Shopping Centre. And I realised it quickly. I was outside of Westfield, up on the central coast of New South Wales, and I thought, this isn't working at all. This isn't going to work. And I thought about it later. And I was like, well, they're the same people. If I'd approached them on the beach, they might have said yes, or in a more sort of natural environment. What is it about the Westfield Shopping Centre that puts them in this frame of mind where they don't want to talk about issues, they don't want to talk to a stranger, and they want to keep to themselves? Well, that's the way Westfield shopping centres are designed. They're designed to be like that. Like, nobody is convivial inside of Westfield. They go in there, they spend their money, that's their job, and then they get out. Nothing else happens. And, I mean, another even more grim proof of my thesis was when that guy killed 5 people inside the Bondi Junction Westfield a couple of years ago.
Oh, of course,
no one stopped that guy. According to some reports, that attack went on for 20 minutes and no one stopped him. There was a lot of men inside that shopping center, and all of his victims, except for one security guard, were women. And so you can imagine, I mean, I don't have to paint too vivid a picture of it, but you can imagine what it was like inside that shopping center. If you were a man and a woman's being stabbed to death, you know what the sound of that is. It's a woman screaming, and men ran away because, one, that's a reflection of modern Australia, and two, Westfield shopping centres don't encourage people to feel any sense of community. It's come in, spend your money, and get the hell out.
Yeah. You know, I think
That's
there was
modern
one guy
Australia.
who held him on a. There was one or two guys that challenged him somewhere, I think, but it was rare. Yeah, it's rare.
There were a couple. There was a couple of French guys who threw a bollard at him, and some guys in some of the footage. There are some people approaching him, but there was no one prepared to risk their own life to save these women. And that's what a society, a proper civilization does that. That's what men do. Men protect women, even at the expense of their own lives. That goes all the way back to ancient Greece. That's how a civilization evolves. Men protect women, even if they die doing it. But we don't do that. That's modern
Look at the
Australia.
Pakistani rape gangs in England. I mean, they've raped so many thousands of girls. It's horrendous, and the police do nothing. And the Parliament overwhelmingly voted down an inquiry into it.
Yeah.
You know, Keir Starmer won't get on his knee for Henry, but he got on his knee for George Floyd.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
It's
It's all about the globalist agenda, not looking.
Yeah, that's right.
People
We're under attack. This is a war now. We're not allowed to talk about it. I actually think it's a war of worth. If you're feeling worthless, I was saying this last night at this gathering, if you're feeling worthless, then they've shot you. That's what they want. They want you to feel hopeless and worthless and shitty. That's the bullet wounds of this war. And you got to fight back by trying to remember you're not. You're actually
worthless and isolated. Worthless and isolated. You know, your family doesn't.
And it's also a systematic. It's a sort of systematic transformation of all of us into consumers, not individuals or not members of community. We've all become atomized consumers. So we're out there shopping and satisfying. We're not thinking about anybody around us or how they feel about things or whatever. It's we've just been turned into consumers. Go home and turn TV once you get out of the mall.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see, because there's I even saw Keir Starmer talking about the Henry, and he's going, I see his dad didn't want it to cause division. Why don't we just listen to his dad? And I look at Keir Starmer and I just think, I just don't understand you at all. You just look
Great
blank.
mate.
And yet
they fall on that. They fall back to that line every time. Like, whenever we traditional Western liberal citizens respond to an attack on us and identify the fact that it was perpetrated for racist or religious reasons, they say we're not going to tolerate people who seek to divide us. Well, seeking to divide us happened when they attacked us. We didn't ask for them to attack us. That's how it starts, and it's perfectly legitimate for us to want to live without those threats in our midst. If that's some sort of racist division, then guilty as charged. I'm racist. I'm happily racist, and for all the right reasons.
But I just wanted to say before we go, we were at Bunbury, and they've got this thing on the doors before you go into a JB Hi-Fi, and we ask you to treat our team members fairly with respect. We will not tolerate any form of aggression, discrimination, or harassment. And you see this everywhere now. You see it in op shops. And I was joking around thinking, well, you know, that's a shame because I used to love a bit of biff when I went into the op shop, you know, wrestling a granny for a jacket or something. You know what I mean? Give me some eggs, bitch.
Yeah.
And there's, you know, we never wear this way. So this is the thing of shame. Like suddenly, you know, we have to remind it, don't beat up people. Where, when do you ever see that? When have you ever gone into a shop and seen people banging on? You don't. And it's everywhere now. You get on the phone, they make you wait for hours on the phone, and they go, we don't tolerate any form of aggression. So when they finally answer, you know, you don't get kicked off. It's all this sort of devaluing us, and that we are not right anymore. And I think this is a way to fight back, is sort of reminding yourself that you do have worth, and plugging away and telling them to fuck off. That's what I'm telling people. The only bold larrikins left in Australia are the Corellas who fly over the town going, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. They're doing it here
We should get one on the podcast.
We were in a car park asleep last night, and Kelly's going, they're still going. It's like 2 a.m, and something must have been disturbing them, but they were still doing it. But I kind of like it. But this is how we got to fight back. It's still in us, but at some point, Australians got to realise this tolerance could actually be the death of us. At some point, we've got to go fucking enough. Like all these tax bills, why aren't we going, we ain't paying that tax? Fuck you. Taxes here, your taxes there, your taxes here, and you keep taxing the stuff you've already taxed numerous times. Fuck off, we're not paying it. They can't put us in jail.
Do you think that this, you know, that the diversity of our strength will be turned into unity is our strength, that will be one of the long-term consequences of Henry's death, or his blood spilling on the ground really meant absolutely nothing, or it's a stepping mark on the way to civil unrest?
Well, I think any unity that's going to come from this will be dictated by the globalists. So, you know, we don't know how this is going to evolve, or we're not meant to know, and we're not meant to play any part in it. But whatever comes of it, the globalists have decided what it is, and it'll be a unity of poverty, essentially. You know, you'll earn nothing and you'll be happy.
That's what I'm already seeing, you know?
Yeah.
I'm seeing oppressed people coming together. And what I mean by oppressed is that you can't speak about anything, and you go to another mob, you go to a dinner party, and you start talking about things that matter. People are literally just want to just shut up. They just don't want to. They don't want to hear that the lucky country's in an iceberg and is currently sinking. They just don't want to hear it. And so you know, this is where we're at. But unfortunately, that's not going to save them. The water's coming. The water's rising.
Again,
I've got to go, lads. I've got to.
No worries.
Yeah, see you, Fred. Thanks very much for doing that. That's great.
Fred. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, pleasure. Always love chatting.
Yeah, you should do it again, man. This is a really good way of doing it. This is what people want now, conversation. We're not really bringing the news. We're just talking in a time of silence. And that's a hugely defiant act. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Let's keep it going. All right.
No worries. See you, man. See you, Fred.
Michael, can you play the song again as we close?
Yeah, sure, man. Sure.
Great song. It's a great song. A really good song.
Oh, cheers, John. I just got to find it now. But it really is. I'm with you. I'm hoping that it does change. I'm seeing people get on their knees. Kelly and I got on our knees, and that's hit. I think it's hit like 70,000 in a day. I'm not bragging for the numbers, but people are watching, and it's just saying you have to do it. We have to scare them by showing unity. The more that's why Epic scared them. We came together, it scared them. But otherwise, we're just spectators to our own demise. You know? And
you can bet those same police were the ones that were kneeling for George Floyd. You know, the level of rank hypocrisy, it just stinks. It really stinks.
Yeah, I don't know how they can live with themselves. You got on your knee for a black guy in America who probably died of a fentanyl overdose. And then here, this young lad who did nothing wrong dies on his way home. He's dying on his face, and the coppers drag him out by his ankles. So would have dragged him over the cold wet sidewalk or wherever he was, and then they handcuff him, and he's
essentially,
saying, "I can't breathe, I
well,
can't
killed
breathe."
him. May have been the final blow in killing him. Has anyone been arrested? They've been arrested.
Yeah, they've arrested the killer, and he's got 21 years in jail because this happened months ago. They've kept it. It happened in October. They've kept it silent since then.
I didn't understand that.
Yeah, they've kept it dead silent. It's just come out now through Elon, I think. Elon Musk was the first one, and now it's gone off. Oh, glory cough. Anyway, I've got to do much. I'll just show you this quickly. This was, you can't see anyway. I'll show them tonight. So anyway, okay, this is Henry's empty hand. Or it should be called Henry Hold My Hand, but we're going there. All right, see you, John. See you tonight.
See you, Michael.
See you. Bye.
Have a good day. Everybody, have a good day.
Henry's empty.
Right.
He just attacked it. Took it to start off. Sorry? Huh? Sorry, we just got attacked racially by some white person.
Right, okay. Whereabouts are you? Just out in the street, are you?
Sorry?
You're just in the street?
Yeah, literally. I just parked up my car to come home, and he's attacked my brother.
They've convinced you that I'm evil, another right-wing racist man. But is there any chance, my brother, that you could hold my hand? I can hear my mother weeping as the papers forget my name. I guess they couldn't find a way to have a dead white boy take the blame. I'm gonna miss dancing with my sister. I'm gonna miss trying to please my dad. And since I'm kind of all alone here, is there any chance, my brother, that you could hold my hand? Who knew I'd make the podcasters? Who knew that all my dreams were lies? And despite never doing wrong by you, there's only hatred in your eyes. I was partying before this. I dressed up and wore a tie. Now there's ghosts among the coppers, the ones laughing as I die. Now there's ghosts among the coppers, I guess they're waiting for me to die. I'll miss dancing with my sister. I'll miss laughing with my dad. I'm kind of all alone here, so is there any chance, my brother, that you could hold my hand? I'm kind of all alone here. I feel as cold as this, my old and aching land. So is there any chance, my brother, that you could hold my hand? So is there any chance, my brother, that you could hold my hand?